hear a warm welcome for Tyrone Griffin. Tyrone.
Can you hear me? Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me back. First, yesterday this happened. So far, sprained it at church. Seriously, true story. At my church, we have stairs that are pretty steep. So every Sunday after service, I would go and help the ladies down because you like to wear heels. And I didn't want anybody to fall. Guess who fell? No good deed goes unnamed. But anyway, again, thank you. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Tonight I want to talk about anxiety and faith. Excuse me. By show of hands, how many people in here are anxious? How many are afraid or nervous? Okay. Well, the thing is, that's normal. Particularly in job transition, it's very normal to have those feelings. It's hot. But I was saying, it's very normal to have that. We always say either pray and don't worry, or worry and don't pray. But the truth of the matter is, it's easier to worry than to pray. So tonight, I just want to try to take you from that anxiety to faith and take you on a little bit of a journey. But first, let's talk about why you are anxious, why you have anxiety right now. First reason really is because you don't have a job. Am I right? That's pretty much the number one root reason for your anxiety. And it's real. Another cause is perceived lack of friends. Remember when you were working and you had people that you hung out with, people that you went to lunch with, and when you got laid off, you found out that for whatever reason, a lot of those friends disappeared. When you were working, I call them friends of convenience. They're people I went to work with every day for lunch. And when I got laid off, all of a sudden, it just wasn't convenient anymore. And you realized that the friendships were more based on the geography because you're all in the same area versus any true connection. Another one of the roots is lack of opportunities. You don't think there's any opportunities. How many people get on job boards, get mailings every day? Some probably on my mailing list. When you get a lot of jobs every day, and you look at them and none of them match what you're doing. I've sat there, you might get them from Career Builder, Indeed, and Simply Hired, and everybody else. 15 or 20 jobs, and none of them match what you do. Another root of anxiety is perception that society has forgotten about you. Nobody's talking about the unemployment rate anymore. Nobody's talking about the unemployed anymore. As a country, it seems like we've kind of moved on. You hear people say things like, well, everybody who wants a job has a job. Or, well, why don't you just go down to McDonald's and get a job flipping burgers? McDonald's already has a lot of PhDs and MBAs flipping burgers. And they don't have a lot more jobs. Or even worse, you hear politicians, even maybe some that you voted for, say things like, well, we would extend your unemployment benefits, but then that would cause you to not want to look for a job. That's a whole political issue there, but just think that somebody really believes that by helping you out, that's going to make you lazy. You look around this room, you look how many people came out here tonight. These are the people that everybody says are lazy. People that everybody says, if you wanted a job, you could find one. You get the feeling that these are people who have never been in this situation. Now, me personally, I was out of work 15 months and 5 days, but who's counting? There's all kinds of strategies I use to get through it. We'll talk about that another time, but my point is this. Unless you have walked in somebody's shoes, and I sat at these tables in your position, unless you've walked in somebody else's shoes, you really can't understand what they're going through. You know, it's like when your friends say, you know, keep your chin up. You know, it's like, this is not a minor thing. This is a major life change. I'm sorry, I got off my notes. I apologize. Anybody listen to my podcast, you know I tend to ramble sometimes. Anyway, the last, what I call roots of anxiety is what I call a lack of faith in a positive outcome. You look out and you don't see this turning out well. No matter how positive things happen to you. You know, I put it like this. No matter how well they play in the first half, you always know the Dallas Cowboys are going to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Any Cowboys fans out there?
Yeah.
All right, you know exactly what I mean. I can top it off. My number 2 team this year was the Broncos. Yeah. So you know how my year's going. And I'm a Spurs fan, all right? I'm really having a bad year. But anyway, one of those is real and the others are perceptions. The problem with it is your perceptions become your reality. If you believe something long enough, even negative, it becomes what you believe and what exists for you. If you believe you have no friends, then you start being unfriendly. If you believe that there are no jobs for you, when you get that job listing every day or once a week or whatever, and you see those 20 or 30 jobs, you start finding ways to make sure that you are disqualified for every one of those jobs. You start to believe society has forgotten about you, you start to close in. Again, you start to believe what you're perceiving. Now, there's some benefits and drawbacks of anxiety. One of the benefits of anxiety is that anxiety sharpens your sword. You know, how many people in here have had a partner, husband, spouse, whatever, come to you and say, I think we should spend some time apart? All of a sudden, you remember every holiday, you remember every anniversary, you remember what you were wearing the first time you kissed, you remember what shoes you were wearing, you remember everything that you should have been doing. Just like in transition. When you get really scared, all of a sudden you remember you follow every phone call, you work your network, you talk to all your friends, you do the things you're supposed to do. That's one of the benefits of anxiety. It scares you into doing what you should have been doing all along. The problem with anxiety, it's a double-edged sword. It also has some drawbacks. One of the drawbacks of anxiety is our bodies are not built for long-term anxiety. Everybody's heard of the flight or fight response. Something happens, you make a decision. Your body tunes itself to react. You shut down all non-essential systems. And you make a decision and boom, 5 minutes later you move on. But think about being that sharp for months or years. I know people have been in job search for years, literally for years, and I'm talking every day. Your body is not built for that. Because remember I talked about those non-essential systems that shut down when you get ready? Geeky things like the secretions that line your stomach. Here's one of the more famous ones. The secretions that line your stomach can make it strong. When you get to that anxiety phase, that stops working. Well, if it stops working for 5 minutes, that's one thing. If it stops working for 5 weeks or 5 months, all of a sudden you start developing ulcers. See, that's the thing. You can have a physical response to a mental state. So that's one of the biggest drawbacks of anxiety is we are not built for this. It's like somebody telling you there's going to be a fight, and you get ready for a fight, you end up in a war. And every day, you know, and I'm not comparing transition to post-traumatic stress syndrome. I'm not in any way saying that they are equal, but they are very similar. When you've been out there looking, when you've been worrying about where your next check is going to come from, when you're coming close to your 99 weeks of unemployment, and somebody's telling you that $250 a week is going to make you lazy, or somebody's telling you that $250 a week is going to cause you to sit back and relax and take a vacation. I've had those arguments with people who've never been unemployed, saying somebody's going to sit back and just take their unemployment and go on vacation for 6 months. Where? Where can you go on, and that's the high end. $250 a week is the high end. You got people making, $100 a week, depending on what your income was. But all that anxiety is not good for us. So on top of having to find a job, I always say, the hardest part of dealing with transition is not looking for a job, it's dealing with transition. It's that getting up every day, and the first thing on your mind is, I gotta find a job. That's waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and the first thing on your mind is, I gotta find a job. When you go to Publix, you go grocery shopping, everything you do, I gotta find a job. Some people are lucky where they have a spouse that's working, so the bills are still being paid. But some people, you're single, and you don't have, parents that you can move in with, and it's scary. When I was unemployed, I had a family. Nobody else worked. And my family is addicted to eating and, having a roof over their heads. My fault. I made them addicted to it, But when you get laid off, you can't just say, okay, well, look, we got to move out. Families don't like that. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But anyway, that was one of the drawbacks of anxiety. So what do? What can you do? Well, first thing, you can find your happiness. Now, notice I didn't say be happy, because there's a difference between being happy and finding happiness. Happy is what you get when you get something new. Happiness is what you get when you realize and be thankful for what you have. I'm not in any way telling anybody to be content with what they have, but I'm saying be happy, or find your happiness with what. Be thankful for what you have. Because there's always, if we went around this room and I took a show of hands who said they had the worst story in here, trust me, somebody else would be there. If I asked somebody who was in the most dire straits, somebody else would be worse. There's always somebody worse off than you. So be thankful. Be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for those little things that happen in your life. Be thankful that you woke up this morning. Be thankful that you made it here tonight. How many people were stuck in that storm, that first storm about 2 months ago? Okay, remember that? I was out there 10 hours. Okay, now I know probably somebody here it can be. All right, but I was out there for 10 hours in that storm. I got home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was stupid, I didn't leave till 4:30. But I was thankful when I got home. Because I passed thousands of cars all in the ditches all over the place. Because people in the South, y'all don't know how to drive in the snow. All right, I grew up in New York and Connecticut. We know how to drive. Y'all should just move out of the way and let us, I'm sorry, you guys do not know. 1/4 inch of snow, everybody freaks out. Everybody runs out, buys milk and bread. Why? What kind of sandwiches are you making? I'm serious, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I've been wanting to ask that question for about 2 months now. Why does everybody run up by all the milk and all the bread? But no eggs. I mean, they don't buy cold cuts, they buy milk and bread. I was like, I'm sorry. But my point is this. Be thankful for, again, you made it here tonight. Maybe you didn't pay all your bills this month, but you paid some of them. Be thankful you got your health. Be thankful you got your right mind. Be thankful that you can know how miserable you got it. Because there are some people out there who just, they're in la la land. They think everything is great. But be thankful for those things in your life, those little things. That's how you start. You be thankful for the little things, and then the big things will take care of themselves. Matthew 6:34 says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. In a month, things might be really bad for you. And you know that now. Worrying about what's going to happen at the end of April is not going to help the end of April. So why worry about it? Worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to help tomorrow. If you can't do anything about it, why worry about it? I once had a conversation with a woman it was on Monday night at a job networking meeting, and she told me she was getting evicted from the hotel she was living in on that Friday. And she was worried, she was distraught about it. And I asked her, what do you do? What are you going to do about it? She said, I don't know. I said, why are you worried about it? She said, Friday is coming. It's coming whether you like it or not. Worrying about it will blind you to what you can do. If you get so caught up worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, you forget and you miss what you can be doing today. You know, I used to say, I got a good night's sleep every night. I was in transition because I figured if I got kicked out of my house tomorrow, I'm going to sleep good tonight. I'm going to get one good night's sleep. But that's my point is that it's why worry about it if you can't or refuse to do anything about it, why worry about it? Not just in transition in life. If you decide you're not going to change something and you know it's not good, then don't worry about it. Let's talk about what faith is. Let's talk about what faith is not. Faith is not a license plate on your car that says blessed or says highly favored. That's not faith. Faith is not just going to church. Faith is not just closing your eyes doing prayer. Faith is believing in your heart that God has something for you, that God has a plan for you, and He has your back. That's what faith is. Faith is not something. What is it? Faith is, and that was my last presentation. Faith is, and I'm missing it, and now that I've thought about it, I'm going to mess it all up. But the scripture about faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen. Faith is not something you can put out there and say, look, I got faith. Faith is in your heart. Faith is knowing that there is nothing that will happen to you today will be stronger than what you and God can deal with. Because understand this, people say that God will not put more on you than you can handle, and that's a lie, because He will. Every day He will put something on you that's more than you can handle, because He wants you to rely on Him. He wants you to turn to Him. So faith is believing that He's got your back. Okay? Faith is looking out and seeing the abyss in front of you and seeing nothing and and having that fear that no matter what happens, it can't turn out well. Faith is looking into that abyss and smiling because you know God has your back. So I say to all of you tonight, have faith. I know it's easier said than done, but have faith. Have faith in God. He got you this far. You look back through your life and all the things that could have turned out worse and they didn't. When you look back and see how far you've come, you know, and maybe at the time you didn't realize it was God helping you, or it was God holding you up, but now you need to believe. Because I'm telling you now, there's no way you're going to get through this, however long it takes, without faith. Yeah, you will cry. I did. You will cry, you will feel alone and desperate, you will feel a set of emotions that you never imagined. But the only way you are going to get through this is with God. And when you get through it, do not forget. Do not, okay, God, you hooked me up, now I can leave you alone. I'm going to stop going to church. You know how people are, when it's bad, I'm going to church every Sunday, I'm going to Bible study, I'm going to everything. And as soon as things get good, oh, well, I'm going to skip Bible studies. This is an opportunity to change your life. This is the time when you can look at how you've lived up to now. And maybe you haven't trusted God as much as you have. But this is your time. When nobody else has your back. When friends and family turn their back on you, God has your back. With that, I think my time is up, but you have notes on your table. A couple of scriptures that I want you to think about. I thank you all again for your time. I thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I hope that something I said made some sense, made you feel a little better about your journey. With that, again, thank you.
Thank you, Tyrone. Right, Tyrone was right. And each one of your cards